It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington Show.
It's time to get spicy with the Andy and Rem Show, episode 176. Quite a lot of episodes. For anyone playing the Remington's Blind up or down game at home, got a few seconds to get your guesses in before all is revealed. Got a bit of an unusual camera angle. But will the blinds be up or will they be down? Let's find out. There we go. Hello, Mr. Remington. Do you want to give us your thought process behind whether the blinds are up or down on any given day?
This is just the first time I've walked into this room today, so I left it as it was left this morning. And you know, I am in denial about summer being over.
Well, Thomas predicted they would be up, so got a winner there.
So Thomas predicted, so he was correct.
Now, I'm reliably informed that you're going to be debuting a new catchphrase tonight, so do you want to give us a preview of it now and then try and slip it in throughout the show so that the audience is mesmerised by it?
If it tastes like summer, then you're already there.
Will it be on t-shirts by the end of the week, or will it be forgotten, like all the other catchphrases that Remington has attempted to endear the population to?
Gotten. What about, I mean, I've given you loads over the years, right?
I don't know. What are your catchphrases, other than just shouting Remington while rolling the dice? Do you have any other catchphrases?
Andy, you're cheating. How about that?
That's not so much a catchphrase. That's more a slanderous accusation.
Andy, how have you just rolled 8 saving throws at 5 up, all in one roll, without your dice being loaded?
That could become a catchphrase. Trend continues. So, got some spice to look at, but it's not the spice that I wanted. So, they revealed all these new units on the Warhammer community over the last few months. And they've been trickling them out since Dominion hit. And everyone's looking forward to the dragons. That's what everyone wants. Big dragons, the small dragons with riders on. But what do they give us? They give us the Kruleboyz monsters instead.
What's wrong with that?
So they know that the Stormcast are the main event.
Not really. Stormcast are the sideshow.
I think it's safe to say that the Kruleboyz are the opening act for the Stormcast here. So if you're going to spend a bit of money on these monsters, they're not in competition with the Stormcast that are going to be just gobbling up everyone's money next week, when surely the dragons will be up for pre-order. So you can spend a bit of your money this week on these guys and not have to worry about it eating the Stormcast budget for the week. Are you grabbing any of these?
I'm thinking about getting the big buzzard. It looks like, it looks suitably a bit rubbish, but kind of funny. It's like something you'd see on like Wild Coyote, Roadrunner kind of vibe. I like it. And if it looks a bit naff and it looks a bit jokey, then I like it.
It's got the Remington seal of approval, is what you're saying.
If it looks overpowered, over armored, and with ridiculously overpowered rules, then Andy likes it. That's how it usually goes. But I've just had an idea, because you know how this has got 2 variants, right? It's got the wizard and it's got this guy.
Your crazy idea to buy 2?
No, my crazy idea is to just buy 1 and use my orc boss on a wyvern as this one, because it looks kind of cool. Could work.
I wouldn't argue with that. That sounds pretty good.
There you go. So, I mean, that's a model that I don't know if that's a legendary model anymore or if you can still get that. I would have to look that up, Andy, on the new Age of Sigmar app.
Oh yes, New Age of Sigmar app, which I didn't put in the news headlines for some reason, but I believe we both have that downloaded now.
Got that, yeah, and we get it for. Well, we don't get it for free. You can't see what I can see there, can you? But yeah, I can get its stats up here too.
Yes,
So,
I'm looking at the beta Age of Sigmar app right now, which I'm assuming everyone has. Anyone who would be tuning into this show surely is all over it.
I've just constructed a 2,000 point Gloomspite Gix army, except it's 2,040 points because I'm gonna have to lose something, but I just can't decide what. So that was quite good fun. Yeah, it's got pictures for each unit as well. So for quick reference, kind of cool. And it's got sort of special rules and stats and stuff. So next time we do a battle, I'll be sure to use it for sure.
Now, I've just found here that browsing some of the Stormcast stuff, I need to obviously register the fact that I own Battletome Stormcast Eternals to access some of these things. And look at all the various artifacts and spells, rares, and enhancements and such, but only if you own the Battletome. So, somehow register that.
Here's a question for you folks, guys. Yeah, Thomas Hartman says, yeah, the app's nice. Yeah, man. Here's a question for you. What's the difference between a prayer and an invocation in Age of Sigmar? I actually don't know the answer, so maybe you could help me.
Do you have to roll for the invocation?
Well, you have to roll for the prayer. I know that much. Right?
I don't know. If you were talking about just the pure definitions outside of Age of Sigmar, then I would think a prayer is slightly more hopeful than an invocation. Invocation would have a bit more purpose to it, like you're actually expecting to succeed, whereas a prayer, a bit more, yeah.
Well, in invocation, you're invoking something. I mean, there's the famous invocation of Nehek, isn't there? Which is a sort of an undead spell, right? So here, Thomas has answered. Invocation is an endless spell for Khorne, I think. Oh well, that's not that helpful, brother. You know, I don't know. You know, what do they have different rules, or are they just basically the same thing? Because a prayer is sort of a spell, but it isn't.
Like a spell, but it's only on one dice, and they're usually pretty easy to get them off.
Right. They're usually on a 3-up prayer, but an invocation, don't know. I don't know. Maybe
anyway,
an invocation is something you say for undead stuff, but, you know, I don't know.
So you're going to build the wizardy version of this buzzard rather than the battle version?
I think so, but, I mean, from past experience, wizards on big monsters don't seem to fare well. There was a time in Warhammer 8th edition where they did really well, but wizards got totally nerfed when they could only do like one spell.
Well, I can tell you that if I get the big Stormcast dragon, I will be making the spellcaster version, who casts 2 spells a turn.
Right, that's only fair, I suppose.
As it is. You know? So, will you be getting the Swamp Boss Scum Drek?
Let's have a look. I love this model.
So
I've got to admit,
looks like a giant, horrible kind of swamp rat, doesn't it?
Don't you think it looks like something out of Star Wars to me? You know, something you'd find in the swamps where Luke Skywalker gets his Jedi training.
Part Star Wars, part Hell Pit Abomination.
Yeah, I really like this. It actually looks like, it kind of looks prehistoric, doesn't it? It looks slimy. It looks kind of dopey as well. You know, like it would kind of be a bit harmless, but you know, it looks like it would be blind, but it would just like eat anything. I like that. This is the other version of it. The legs on the Aurochs do look weird, don't they? They look like shorter legs than
they are quite short, and it's not helped by the pose on this one as well, and the camera angle. It makes them look even shorter because they're kind of either side of this flank here.
Yeah,
there's a skirt going on as well.
That sure's putting me off. So I think I like the other build better. and I love the cages there to capture.
Yeah, the camera angle's a bit more kind to the legs here. You can see that they're actually bent a little. They're not that short.
Yeah, do you prefer this model better?
I like this one actually, with the grabber, rather
Yeah,
than the one with the.
Yeah, me too. I'd be I'm very tempted to get it.
You know
Have
what
we
it
got
is? It's
price?
because this guy isn't wearing a shirt, so you can see where his legs end, because those are like
Yeah.
his shorts or his skirt there. You can see the cut-off point. This one, the way they've painted it, it all blends into one big garment.
Yeah, and you see they did that on the Kruleboy that you get in the box set Dominion on the Beast.
Makes the legs look much shorter when you can't see that they actually extend up out here.
Yeah, not a fan of that pose to be sure, but yeah, how much are we talking for this precious monster?
Well, we'll have a look in a second. But you can
Okay.
also get gut rippers now.
Yeah, so it's a gut ripper the same as one of the guys with the spears.
I assume they are, but you can give them different weapons now.
Right, it's just that these come in at something like £30, don't they, for 10? But for £40, I got 10 of the guys with the spears, I got 20 hobgrots, I got the boss, I got the shaman.
Well, it's very reminiscent of the start of Age of Sigmar, even way back in the first edition of Age of Sigmar, when the Stormcast, for example, the prosecutors come with 2 hammers, but then they release the prosecutor box, and suddenly all the other weapon options are superior to the hammers. So the ones you get in the starter box generally have the inferior weapon. That's usually how it goes. You need some reason to buy these. Then,
Well, I think if you got twice as many, it would be a better reason.
what about the Marsh Crawler Slogoth?
Now, Andy, this is such an almost model. It's the face of the troll thing. It looks so goofy.
You think you could do something with it to improve the face, maybe? Bit of conversion work?
It's just silly. I mean, like the guys on top are wicked fun, but yeah, it just looks silly and a bit implausible.
Could you
Because
fix it with a paint
as soon-
job?
No, as soon as this guy tries to get up, the whole thing comes crashing down, doesn't it? Let's face
Well, it
it.
doesn't look like he's going to be able to stand upright with that thing on his. Let's be honest.
It's just a bit weird. I don't know. Maybe it will grow on me.
But it's
Yeah,
not top
I
of your
love-
pre-order list, though.
Not this one. I'd be interested to read the rules though, for sure. I mean, yeah, what's the deal with them like catching stuff then? Do they
Well,
sort of later or something?
do you
What
have
they do?
do you have the Auric War book or the War Scrolls?
No,
Well, you could tell us what the deal was. You could look on the app.
that's the point. There's some big news for you. The Auric War book is being released.
It's been
In fact,
released.
it has just been released. So that's
And in fact, I've actually got a book right here. It's not that one. It's obviously the mighty Stormcast Eternals.
oh God, please don't switch off. I know you're tempted to.
And not only that, I've also got this gargantuan stack of War Scroll cards. Look at that.
Oh my God, have
There's-
you opened them yet?
Yes, there's a billion of them in here, and some of them, the rules are on 2 pages. If we look at, for example, Karazai the Scarred, one of the new dragons, he's got
Yeah.
2 pages and a fold-out War Scroll.
The Pinnock.
So some of those fold-out War Scrolls don't seem that necessary. It looks like they've just spread the text out as much as possible to make certain models seem more important. But I think that one's justified.
Is
But
that because he's got loads of spells then?
that one doesn't have spells, but it has got lots of special abilities. And also in here, you get tokens as well. So you get the
Okay.
unique battle tactics that the Stormcast Eternals have, that I assume all the new armies are going to have. And you also have tokens for your various attributes.
Do you get
But
one
on
that
your-
says like +1 to save, so and re-roll saving throws, and then
You don't have
yeah.
anything that says
Yeah.
that specifically, but you do have the name of the rule, so some of them may do something like that. And then it's just full of War Scrolly goodness, basically.
Are any of the stats different with this new edition? Like, for example, like your Liberators, are they like the same as they've always been in
Well,
terms of their stats?
Liberators are actually slightly different now. They're a
Oh,
bit better. There are a
oh
few
no.
things. Actually, Warhammer Weekly just did a massive 4.5 hour episode on breaking down all the Stormcast Tunnels units, which I did watch because obviously I want to know what's hot and what's not in the
Yeah.
Stormcast without having to analyse back and forth myself.
So can we give
And,
our audience the 30-second version?
well, not really. It's a bit more complicated than that because there's so many different war scrolls, there's so many ways you can build the Stormcast army, which is something you've complained heavily about. You can just build any kind of list you want. And you have the option to take a lot of different things as battle line now, so you can build lists mostly around dragons or around Dracoths or pretty much any type of unit you can think of. You can
It has
get
no
battle line
limitations.
out of it. If you want,
Stormcast has no
if you want
limitations.
heavy cavalry as battle line, you can do that. Fast cavalry as battle line, you can do that. Heavy, hard-hitting infantry as battle line, you can do that. Got all the options basically. Certain things just seem to be. Certain things are better than others because of the way the points are. So if you're like me and you tend to just build a little bit of everything, except for ballistas, which aren't that great anymore. But if you build a little bit of everything like me, then you're always going to be able to put out an army that's okay, but you're never going to have pure filth. Whereas if you just build 100 of what's hot right now, obviously when they upgrade the points, update all the points every year, as they do, if all those points go up on the models you've got, suddenly you'll be sticking them all on eBay, buying a load of new stuff. It isn't my bag. I just prefer to collect an army rather than build the hotness. But I know you're very much the same as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you're constantly going with the meta, you know, by the time you've bought the models, you've assembled them and based them, and you know the meta's changed. So you're gonna waste your time chasing that thing. So you know it's just better to get models you like, I think.
I agree because there's certain things that I bought way back in first edition that weren't that great at the time and are suddenly better now. And some things are suddenly not really very good that have been good past. Because certain abilities were taken away, certain ones were added. A lot of units changed their armor saves actually. So a lot of improved armor saves to 3+ now from 4, which you're going to be thrilled about.
Why? It's so dumb.
But they've also a lot of them have gone up in points as well.
So dumb. Tell me about Liberators then, because they are the 4 to hit, 4 to wound.
Do you want me to open the Liberators page in the book and tell you all about them?
Go on. What were they like 4 up with, re-rolling 1 save, was it? Or was it 3 up re-rolling? What's something stupid? 2 wounds.
They were 4 up saves and could re-roll the 1s because of their shields. So let's find the old Liberators in here and tell you exactly what's going on. Here we go. So they're still 4+ save, unlike, I may add, the new Vindictors, which are like the spear carrying infantry. They're actually 3 up save. But you'll be pleased to know I don't have any of those painted. But the Liberators still have the 4+ save. They haven't improved that much in the basic stats, but they do have some more interesting special rules now. So, for example, add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target this unit if at least half the models in this unit are armed with Sigmarite shields.
They all are.
Well, all mine are.
Oh.
But you can also give them large weapons as well. You can have them with paired hammers.
Okay.
Such. So you can get the better save to put them on a par with some of the other 3+ units, but you don't need to have all of them armed with shields to do so. Okay. And at the end of the combat phase, pick 1 enemy unit that is both within 1 inch of this unit and within 6 inches of an objective. Roll a dice. On a 4+, that unit suffers D3 mortal wound. So,
why?
Because the way they work now, I think it's mostly the units with the keyword Redeemer. So that's a lot of battle line units. Stormcast.
Right.
They're heavily geared towards fighting over objectives.
Okay.
So there are rules that you can synergize, and whenever they're fighting someone near an objective, they're going to have bonuses on them. That's their role in the army, and it gives them a bit more of a purpose, I think. Because I was really looking forward to just ditching the Liberators, making other things as a battle line, so I wouldn't need to take them anymore. But they're actually pretty good now.
So they've still got 2 wounds.
Yes.
And what's their movement? 4?
Their movement is still 5. It's the same as it was before.
How can they move the same rate as someone that's like unarmored? That's just
They're
ridiculous.
powered by Sigmar himself in the heavens.
They're
blessing
walking
them.
tin cans. That's ridiculous. So look, mortal wounds is still the name of the game. Killing these guys, right? Because
mortal
with
wounds
Andy's rolling
against the
no way you're
Stormcast.
gonna...
Yes. Although there are more ways to give the Stormcast units saves now, but it's usually just 6 plus. So it's not that great. So mortal wounds are still the way to go, definitely. Especially the way I tend to build armies, which is just much armor as possible.
Now, do these Stormcast still get these auto mortal wounds? Well, if you roll a 6 after they die.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And these Vindictors, so you say they've got a better saving throw. Do they have shields as well?
They do have shields as well. Yep.
So it's a 3-up re-rolling ones.
Let's see.
Seems fair.
No, there's no re-rolling ones for the shields.
Okay.
Don't worry about that.
Wow. Okay.
But
that's not fair, is it?
The Vindictor's trick is that they've got a longer range for a start. So if you take them in a unit 10, then they're going to be right over each other quite easily. But their trick is that they can do mortal wounds as well.
Of course they can.
So if they hit with a 6, then they just do more.
Totally fair.
Yeah. So there is a good reason to take those, but they're more expensive than the Liberators in points, as you'd expect.
Okay, so how much are we talking? So they come in 5s, 10s?
In 5s, and I can tell you exactly how many points they are, because unlike you, I do own the General's Handbook. Do I have it to hand? Let's see. I don't think I've got it right there. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to flash up the technical difficulty sign, and I'm going to run across the room and grab the General's Handbook. Obviously, Remington doesn't own one.
I can look at it on the Warhammer
keep
app.
them entertained for 5 seconds.
Okay, so basically, guys, Stormcast are completely overpowered, and every 5 minutes they're getting new rules which make them even better, and they still don't win any competitions because everyone knows they really suck because it's a cheaters army. So hello, hey Andy.
I have returned. So let's have a look at the points, shall we? Good old General's Handbook. Actually, you know what? That's a complete lie, because it's not in the regular General's Handbook. It's in the extra book that you get with the General's Handbook. So there we go. It's General's Handbook Pitched Battle Profiles. So Stormcast Eternal. Where are you? Looking for about the 17 pages of Stormcast Eternal. Go. So let's see. Liberator.
Look.
Fine, oh, here we go. Liberators, 5 for 95 points. Whereas Vindictors are 5 for 140 points. So way more expensive.
Interesting. So let's just check something. So 100 and how many? 50 points?
140 points. 5 Vindictors.
So 10 points cheaper than 20 Grot Stabbers.
Sounds fair.
What else? Cheaper than 5 Goblin Fanatics. Cheaper than a 10-man Squig unit that has a 6-up save and Bravery 4.
Oh, hold on.
Seems fair.
Points have gone up in the book, apparently. Dun, dun, dun. So overruling
wow.
the General's Handbook. Let's see how many points they actually are now.
Come on,
So,
brilliant.
Liberators. Oh yeah, they've gone up by 20 points since that book. So their point value lasted about 3 weeks. And then they shot up to 115. Yeah, there we go.
Good.
And the Vindictors went down to 130. Obviously,
They want
their
people to
power
play
level just drastically changed in the last weeks.
them. Yeah.
So they're actually cheaper. So yeah. No, I don't know how I feel about them updating points in the army book and the General's Handbook. It does tell you the date it was updated though. But you are going to have to cross-reference that if you're buying into the game later.
And this is why I won't buy the General's Handbook, because it keeps changing every 5 minutes. So I'm hoping that now I've got access to the app, I'm going to get the updates automatically.
But it's, the reason I would buy the General's Handbook. It's the cheapest way to get nice printout of all the core rules, and also things like the rules reference page, which is right on the back, all the basic things that you need to remember, and the beautiful index section. Very easy to search.
That is nice, yeah.
Those are some reasons to buy the General's book.
So, Andy, one thing I think you don't have in your Stormcast army is the endless spells for Stormcast.
Currently, the Stormcast endless spells aren't particularly good.
Right, okay. Okay. Are you still interested in this Celestial Prime?
The Celestant Prime?
Yeah.
Yes. He's actually become really good, apparently, now.
Yeah, that's what I read too.
I heard that he used to be not very widely taken, but now he's got a 4+ ward save.
Fair. Yeah. I don't know. Do you know, for me, Stormcast should have been a highly, highly elite army that you could ally in, and they, if you're going to have them godlike, but don't give them endless choices. That's not fair. There's supposed to be like hordes and hordes of these other armies that have way less choices than the Stormcast. Doesn't make sense. If you've made the Ultimate Warrior, why do you have to keep changing him?
Well, if you were keeping up with all the fluff, then you know all the strife and turmoil that's taking place.
Yeah.
What do you think about this terrain, then?
It's all right. I don't think it's worth what they're asking for.
I don't think I'm really going to be buying any of it.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of cool. This I've seen before. You can get that as part of the Sub Dominion box set, can't you? Right. The smaller battle. I like this thing here. That's kind of cool.
The Nexus 7.
Yeah, I like that.
I do like that one, actually. And you wouldn't be able to get models in among it, so it'd just be a big piece of terrain that you can't pass. That looks, which is probably the best way anyway, because you don't want them falling down the steps of things, do you?
I mean, I would like to put some rules out. I don't know if these have special rules, but how about any Stormcast within 20 inch suffer 2d6 mortal wounds? That's a great rule.
Sounds all right to me.
Hmm.
So, do you want to know some prices?
Yeah, I've seen the prices. They're too much.
Swamp Boss Scum Drek, £34.50.
That's a deal. I like that.
For a big monster, that's pretty good by their usual price standards. It's bigger than the hero that you've got in the box.
Right, okay. I like the sound of this guy. It's something I'd be interested in for sure. But however, just look at how much the buzzard is, though.
Yeah, the buzzard, £89 for that. It doesn't look anywhere near the size of like a Stardrake. I don't see why you're paying Stardrake money for it.
I think it's seen as the centerpiece. It is a wicked model. There's tons of detail, loads of character. I'm interested, but I think I'd rather go for the little swamp catcher guy.
The Marsh Crawler Slogoth, £31.50. So that looks like a pretty that one. But when you compare the prices, those two just look fine, that's a perfectly acceptable price, if not cheaper than I thought they were going to be. And then this one just looks too high for the size of it. I'd compare everything to the Stardrake. If it's not as big as a Stardrake, this looks like about, could be even like half the mass of a Stardrake, but it's still almost as expensive.
I mean, look, do you know that Marsh Crawler Slogoth? I would put the tower on the buzzard. I think that could be kind of cool. So you're sort of getting these flying grots on a buzzard.
If this was 60, would you think that was more appropriate? 60, so if you went to one of the third-party retailers, so you'd be paying like 50 for it.
It's not too bad, mate. It's all right. I mean, look, a centerpiece is a centerpiece. They look amazing. If you do a great paint job, then they're gonna retain their value. You're gonna want to play it. They just make everything look better, right? I've just seen a comment from Will Matthews. Hey, buddy, check this out, Andy. They still need to unlock at least 3 new chambers of Stormcast, with a new chamber every 3 years. That means we have at least 12 years more of Stormcast releases.
Sounds good to me. I'm waiting for the Mega Artillery Chamber to come out. Because we've only really got the Ballista and the Lord Ordinator.
Why don't they just have a Sigmar, nuclear bomb?
Well,
or a giant laser that
the
just
Sigmar nuclear
everything.
bomb is supposed to be the Celestant Prime, I think. That's what he does. Just like charges up and teleports down and kills everything. What else? So Gut Rippers, £31.50. Doesn't look good value when you see that you can get the entire contents of Dominion for about £40.
Yeah, and you could probably sort of convert their
You could easily convert them because they're just like shoddy kind of weaponry. You could get them from any other orc, maybe even Lord of the Rings orcs.
Andy, they are pushed to fit because I've put these together. I'm painting my Kruleboyz guys at the minute, and some of them are quite awkwardly posed, and when you push it together, you really see the mold lines. They're just saying anyway. But yeah, the Snatcher boss gets my pick of the week.
Are you going to get some more of these guys, but from Dominion, and convert them into Gut Rippers with the
I don't think so.
rather than the spears?
Andy, I went to the model shop on when was it? Was it Saturday? I think it was Saturday or Sunday, and I was hoping to get the Trogoth character. The guy sat on the Trogoth and he's got the big clubs. But they didn't have any in stock, and they said they weren't getting them till Monday, which was interesting because I know there's been all sorts of delays with deliveries, haven't they? I think it's not Games Workshop's fault. It's you're seeing it all over in supermarkets as well at the moment.
Well, the shop I was going to pre-order the Battle Tome and the War Scrolls from was sold out of the War Scrolls before I could click buy, so I had to go to a different shop in the end. So things do sell out. I think when the dragons hit, it may be a mad scramble to get those. Otherwise, you'll be waiting a few weeks because those people are going to go nuts for them.
Yes, right.
Nexus Siphon, £30. Bit expensive for a little piece of terrain.
Too much, man. 20 quid maximum for me. It might be massive though. We need to kind of see how big it is, really.
What do you think about this rumour engine?
Andy, couldn't they have brought out some sort of swamp scenery? That would have been more characterful, wouldn't it?
That would have been nice, actually, but I imagine they'll probably give them a piece of faction terrain at some point.
Yeah, I wonder what their endless spell would be. Would it be like Mud Pool or,
How about Swamp with a big hand reaching out of it to grab you?
I like it, yeah. Anyone in the chat want to speculate on Kruleboyz endless spells?
Swamp-based endless spells. Drop them in there now.
Yeah.
Rumour engine. It's got a skull with a symbol on it. Looks kind of like, is it like the London Underground symbol? Stamped onto the forehead.
It is like, give us all your money with the most expensive public transport in the world. How about that? Um,
It
so
looks like
yeah,
tree, but
looks
everyone
like
has trees on
Nighthorn.
their bases now, so that doesn't narrow it down.
Oh, don't you think it's Nighthorn?
I don't know. Would Nighthaunt just have a skull like that around? What's that
Um,
symbol? What does that symbol represent?
no entry.
Maybe no entry into the skull.
Will thinks it's a witch hunter. Zato says they should have a Stormcast chamber where they don't wear any armor. They just big buff men and women with golden masks. That sounds like Chaos Marauders to me.
What would you
But
call that
I like the
chamber?
sentiment.
A name for the chamber of the mostly naked Stormcast. Drop the names in there now.
Freedom chamber. They'd probably get 10-inch movement.
So,
Yeah, go on.
GW have obviously been paying attention to this show because they've kind of got their own version of Dice Watch. And they're analysing whether you should be using generic cheap dice or their really expensive dice and seeing how they perform. So, they claim to have done an experiment where they uncover the truth behind dice. Generic ones are terrible and always roll low numbers, whereas the super expensive faction dice, Grand Alliance dice, roll high numbers frequently.
Well, I think I found that. You found that, haven't you, Andy? With those Stormcast dice.
Well, I don't have Stormcast dice.
Well, whatever the ones you're using.
I just have the generic Age of Sigmar dice. That's what I've been using. I'm hoping to get the Grand Alliance Order dice at some point.
David Kitely, hey buddy, he's predicted an endless spell for the Kruleboyz. Shrek's toilet. Love it.
What would be the rules for that one?
If you're Stormcast, it's automatically D10 wounds.
D10.
It just takes you down. D10. 3d6.
How about the endless spell moves around until the time is right for it to flush, and then it drags all models within 12 inches, like right next to it, so it pulls them all into combat with each other.
I love it. And as a caveat, for every turn it doesn't flush, there's just this horrible smell.
Stench cloud.
And you kind of you don't fight so good.
-1 to hit with shooting if you're within 12 inches of the toilet until it flushes.
Yeah, Shrek's toilet.
So drop it by all the shooting units, so the -1 to hit, and then when it flushes, it pulls them all towards you as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like a vortex.
Yeah,
kind of.
I could see that.
GW should hire both of us, says Zato. Dude, we've been saying this for years. I guess they figure they can just steal all our ideas.
Well, they can, to be fair. And also, it's established now that they don't want all their staff to become celebrities like Duncan. And in fact, we'll look how he's capitalising on his fame shortly.
Okay.
In fact, we could look at that right now.
He's doing well?
Kickstarter, which Duncan has applied his face and his name to
that face.
A range of paints. And the actual company creating them is Transatlantis Games. And they've got this range of paints out, affiliated with Duncan, and it's made over $1 million.
Oh my god. What was the target?
Target was considerably lower than that, and I wonder what kind of percentage Duncan is raking in for having his name and face attached. That it must be the selling point behind it.
Oh my god.
He's taken his legion of fans away from GW. Not only are they supporting him and his internet output with Patreon and whatnot, they're now also parting with their cash for Duncan branded paints.
How many subscribers has Duncan got to his YouTube?
He's got a lot. He's got a lot of Patreon backers as well. But GW don't want anyone else going down this path. They're not going to let any of their other staff or their Warhammer TV presenters reach this level of fame and get memed. into the stratosphere.
He's got 206,000 subscribers on YouTube. So, yeah, his Kickstarter, yeah, he's kicked off. Wow, Andy, that's really impressive, man. I mean, I guess once we had one of the head design team guys come to where I work and give a talk to the students, and one of the things he kept reiterating was that when Games Workshop brings staff on, especially in creative roles, they kind of expect them to stay for life. Literally, he said those words.
Well, if they give you a certain level of fame, so there are opportunities that have been created for you outside of Games Workshop. If they're not paying you what that person thinks they can earn elsewhere, out on their own with their newfound fame, then they're going to go out there and they're going to grab the world, start squeezing, aren't they?
Well, I mean, look, in fairness to Duncan, he did spend many years there, didn't he? And
Did. He was there for a long time, and he was Warhammer TV for a while. He was the selling point, so I can only assume that they weren't paying him enough if he went off and did his own venture.
It's still a big gamble, isn't it? To move away from such a high-profile company and take the chance of striking out. So,
I think his people around him must have advised him, seeing the trends online and seeing how professional miniature painters, there is quite a big market, people absorbing their content and paying good money for it. Someone with a vast fan base and a vast following of eyeballs that are going to go wherever he goes, then they must have had some idea that he was well.
Now, there is a photo around, Andy, of me and you with Duncan, isn't there?
That is true.
And it's on the Andy and Rem Facebook page. If you scoot back a little while ago, you'll see a picture of who's the other guy that was there? It was Duncan and
Peachy.
Yeah, Peachy. He's there. They're stood with me, looking kind of like, oh my god, we're stood with Remington. This is so awesome. And then there was a picture that was taken of them sitting with you, Andy, and it was almost like, who is this guy? It was quite a contrast. It was like one was like Remcon, and the other one was like Andy Palooza.
Well, I think you'll find the first picture with you, they were just being polite because they thought you were some crazed lunatic who'd broken into Bugman's and their picture taken with them. So they were just putting on a happy face, hoping that you'd go away. And then they were so starstruck and in awe of my presence that they didn't even know what to do with their faces. So you can't read too much into their expressions there. I think that's how it was.
I'd be interested to look at some paint reviews for this paint line. I mean,
well, they're in bottles, which, according to the chat, Dark House and Zato think bottles are the best, and I do prefer bottles, except this one bottle, this Game Colour White, which has exploded a couple of times on me recently because it got clogged up, and then as I was squeezing it into the wet palette, it just... But thankfully all the paint was contained to the palette, but it's still a bit of wastage there. But nowhere near the wastage of, for instance, these GW pots. I mean, this one's alright because it's hard coat, but the actual paints, they dry up so fast in there.
Yeah, but don't the nozzles dry up on the...
Eventually, I'm sure they would.
The droppers.
But typically, you're not leaving the paint exposed to the elements for very long, though, because you just pour some of it out of the bottle, then close it up. So with the GW pots, I suppose, if you transfer it onto a palette with your brush, but you don't really want to be piling up paint onto your brush like that. And a lot of people just paint straight from the pot. I'm sure you're one of them. So they are going to dry up faster.
Straight out of the pot, dude. I ride bareback, man.
Hashtag from the pot. You know? That's the Remington way.
From the pot. Remington from the pot. And, that's how I roll, baby. But look at my paint jobs. They look awesome.
I've moved towards pretty much entirely dropper bottles for my paints, except for Citadel technical paints and shades and contrast paint. So anything that's like really watery, never going to dry up, or anything that's just a unique, interesting kind of paint. then I go for the GW ones there. But I'm pretty much game colour all the way. Or just regular paints. That's how I roll.
Fair play, man. Fair play. Is there any paints that stick out to you? Vampire Fang? That looks interesting.
Well, I've backed this Kickstarter, but for one pot of paint though.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna pick out one at random when it's over, maybe, or pick whichever one I think looks nice, and then review it for journalistic purposes, see if it measures up. So whether it would be orange, who knows?
Andy, I'm just looked at the fur cloak looks almost exactly the same colour as Tuscal flesh, as Tuscal fur. Just saying, you can see that.
Well, if they're exactly the same as GW paints, but in dropper bottles, that would still be better than GW paints. Dropper bottle area. And if they happen to be cheaper as well, that would be nice.
Demon Red looks kind of cool. Yeah, okay, well, let's see, right?
Well, I think you should jump on this Kickstarter as well and back it for one paint at least. Then we'll be able to review them when they...
You have to wait 2 years before you get them, though.
Well, let's scroll down and find out when they're expected to be delivered. Let's go. Kinds of extra add in here.
$55 for 15 paints. That's $5. That's like £3, £3.50 per paint bot. So
estimated delivery January 2022. So not very long.
Good.
Only a few months.
Good.
And obviously it's going to fund successfully. So
yeah, Andy, you've been part of Kickstarters before, right?
Yes.
If your goal was, say, I don't know, £1,000, and you get £1 million, that doesn't mean you get to keep £999,000, does it?
No.
It means that now suddenly you've got to ramp up your production.
Got to make billions of them, which can lead to extra costs suddenly, because maybe if you were going to go with a factory that only has capacity to do a certain amount in one run, and you budgeted for that, then you may end up going over budget because now you have to go into a second, or maybe they can't handle it anymore at all because it was so vast. People end up adding stretch goals that can cause the project to be delayed as well because they have to put multiple different things into production that they weren't planning on. So if a Kickstarter goes too crazy, then sometimes they can get a bit carried away and it can actually be more of a hindrance than a help. But whatever the initial goal for a Kickstarter is, usually, I'm not going to say that's a lie, but in their minds they'll have a higher figure as the actual goal they want for Kickstarter. And the number they put there is just the minimum, the bare minimum, and they would be disappointed if they only get the minimum.
This is like more than 20x what they thought, though.
Yes, I would assume this is definitely a wild success in them. So I don't think they would have anticipated breaking into billions with it.
But they are a business, so you'd think, if they're selling each paint pot for, say, $5, you'd expect them to earn $1 or $2 out of each paint bot, right? And so you would think that having, let's say they reached $1 million, you'd think that 200,000 of that might well be profit, or not. I mean, would they use that to reinvest, to get more manufacturing on?
Well, there's also going to be all the shipping as well out to individual people. Whereas later on, when it's being distributed out into shops, for instance, that would be done on a more of a massed scale, with large quantities going to one place. So you're not having to send them out to the individual customer themselves. So they're going to have to ship over 7,000 parcels. So who knows what kind of money there is left for them at the end. But not only that, they're building a brand, though, and the brand awareness is going to be through the roof after this. And anyone who's even backed it for one paint has got that bottle of paint in their hand. Presumably, they're going to be at least half decent. So when someone's looking to buy more paints, that bottle in front of them, they're going to think, yes, I'll get another one in that range. And future sales will be driven by this.
Do you think Duncan watched the earlier episodes of the Andy and Rem show and saw Remington Steel as a brand name and thought, how about Duncan Rhodes? And saw the potential because he seems to me as a character that's quite like doesn't seem to want to be a superstar or nothing. It's almost like I wouldn't say a reluctant nerd, but people sort of love to sort of take the mick in a sort of a nice way, and he sort of took it on board.
Yes, there was. I remember when he first joined Twitter, and there was a lot of commotion around that because it didn't seem like he was really up with technology or down with the latest social media and all the lingo. But obviously, either he knows what he's doing with his career at this stage, or he's got some people who have maybe their finger more on the tech social media pulse advising him, which is what you need. Anyway,
Yeah, cool.
yeah.
Well, based in America, so maybe he's just going to become like a American celebrity now, right? I don't know. Fair play.
So what else have we got? Warcry. There's new stuff coming, but they don't really show us any of it. They just tell us that spiders are coming pretty.
Oh, that's great. But it looks like from the pictures of the Chaos, Marauders, that they're not going to be like, or are they? Do you think they're going to be like Gloom Spike Git spiders? New Spider Riders?
Some people are suggesting it's going to be chaos spiders of some kind.
Ugh. What does a Chaos Spider look like? Could be cool.
What about if they're spider beast men?
or Grot Scuttlers, like we first saw them in the Silver Tower, didn't we? But the Gloom Spike Gits really need a new set of spiders because the Spider Riders are really naff right now compared to new models. I mean,
Dark
the
House,
Arachnorax spider's wicked, right? But the actual Spider Riders are rubbish.
Dark House says there's a rumour GW in general is trying to move away from rules and games and towards IP, i.e. games and licensing out the setting. I think they can keep doing both. I'm seeing a lot of videos lately. Is 3D printing going to put GW out of business, or is 3D printing going to kill GW? And I think I'm actually going to make a 5-second clickbait video where I ask that very question, and it's just going to be me sitting in a chair. Just going to say, probably not. Video ends. So I may do that this week actually, and see how many hits that gets, how many dislikes I can.
But I think for Dark Horse Gaming, what you can do if you're really interested to see if Games Workshop are going down that route, is to go to the investor relations page on Games Workshop and download the latest set of reports and look at how much profit they actually make from doing their IP stuff. It's nowhere near as much as what they sell in terms of miniatures. Just my opinion, but yeah, that's something you might want to look at.
So speaking of IP, obviously make good use of their IP with Warhammer Plus and making sure no one else did it for similar projects. But have you been watching anything on the Warhammer Plus platform this week?
There wasn't a lot of new stuff, Andy, unless I missed it. But
a lot of 40k stuff.
Well, I saw the Blood Angels sort of, and it's amazing. I've got to say, like I said, I didn't know what the hell was going on the first couple of episodes, but now I'm bang into it.
Yeah, that Angels of Death. Yeah,
it's amazing. It's brutal.
The newest episode, actually. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen the latest episode. So I'm about to spoilers here. But the last episode, or the last 2 episodes before that, the Space Marines never really seemed in any kind of trouble, did they?
No.
Like, anytime someone's shooting at them, they don't even bother dodging or anything, they just stand still. What's the point firing these lasers at them when a billion lasers just bounce off the shoulder pads? Nothing.
Yeah.
However, that all changed right at the end of the last episode, when a couple of them seemed to get their brains caved in.
Oosh, it's brutal. I mean, I don't know like the names of all the things in the Gene Stealers or the Tyranids army, but there's sort of like a giant sort of Tyranid, Gene Stealer kind of rat ogre kind of thing in there. Do you know what that's called? Is that an actual model?
I assume it's probably a model, but I haven't really followed the Gene Stealer cult range. But I assume
Do you
it's
know
in
the
there.
Do you know the sort of backstory behind Gene Stealers?
My understanding is that they take over the minds of people and they like spread around not only in altering their DNA, but also through like typical cult tactics as well.
Yeah.
They would
Yeah.
recruit people physically and mentally.
But
I think.
that's just a prequel to them sort of taking over a planet before the actual Tyranids come down and basically turn the whole planet into a giant soup and consume it, including all the gene stealers. So it's like absolutely nuts, man.
Gene Stealers are cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it's that. I think for the Warhammer Plus app, that it's not really a cartoon; it's animation. Would you say that alone is like worth it? It's so good. You know, just my opinion. But what else did we get that was new in there? We got some access to some more White Dwarf editions,
I haven't looked
and
at
there's
any
a
of
new
those
battle
yet.
report.
We'd get another 40k battle report, so I think they need to even that up with some more AOS stuff.
Yeah, I didn't. I watched the first 15 minutes of the new battle report. Really wasn't digging it so much, but it does involve the Primarchs. So you're into 40k and you want to see the Primarchs, Mortarion, and Gilliman in action. There you go. Nurgles versus Ultramarines.
There you go. Now, next, this is some game action footage here in still picture form, obviously, from a demo game, Bolt Action, that I did for Annie and one of our friends the other day. So both of my armies here. Got the Bad Squiddo Winter Soviets on one side, borrowing one of the Belgians' tanks, it has to be said, because I haven't painted it yet. And the Belgians on the other side. So a few pictures from there. And that
Was it fun?
was fun, actually. And they both had a very old time killing each other.
What's the sort of objectives in it? Is it just to destroy the army, or do you have to do?
Usually there are some kind of objectives in the scenario, like with any game, but for this particular game I just picked something simple. Just control as much of the battlefield as you can each other. So it was nothing too complicated. But fun game. I hadn't actually played any games of it in the last few years. But it hasn't, the rules haven't changed drastically since I last played it, so it's pretty easy to up and get them through.
Sure. How did the Soviet women do?
Well, both factions did alright, actually, both the nations involved, and I think it was a draw in the end. So there was a lot of killing going on, though. In fact, for anyone who's familiar with the bolt action rules, might be quite amused. Veteran elite fighting force of Belgium, the Chasseurs, someone shot at them once, and then they were so terrified by that they were just hiding down in the snow for the whole game. So that was quite amusing. Other than that, the tanks shot at each other. Tanks got blown up. They pretty much just advanced forward, got into cover, and just were shooting at each other. It was kind of like World War I style fighting. Really.
I got you.
So that was a lot of fun. You can see a Belgian sniper there.
Well, how long does the game last?
Well, it depends who's playing. You were playing it probably 17 hours. This game lasted a couple of hours, 3 hours at most, but considering neither of them had ever played it before, pretty good.
Well, Andy, talking of battle reports and games, we actually got together and people in the chat really seem to be enjoying our battle reports that we've been putting out.
Yes.
And the latest one we're going to put out again this week sometime, as soon as I get some free time.
Tomorrow, we're thinking.
Tomorrow, I might have to skip on that because I've got a very busy evening, but I'll talk about that later.
Well, soon though.
Yeah. But yeah, I brought my Gloom Spike Gits, didn't I, Andy? And you brought in the dwarves. So if you're a fan of Cities of Sigmar and Caradron Overlords, and dwarves, you might want to see that. I've put out a quick renegade battle report that we shot, at the time on my channel, but we're going to do a two-way one, aren't we?
Yeah, nice. Well, if you want to just see the video with a bit of live dice rolling, then head on over to Remington's. It's linked in the description. And watch it there. And then we're going to have more of a tactical kind of overview and discussing the various elements of that game on this channel at some point.
Yeah, it was good fun, and without giving away what happened, I definitely want to have another go with the Gloomspite kits. I've got, as you can see there, I've got, well, you can see one shelf full, third shelf down there, but I've also shelf full of rolls and gits. So I enjoy playing them. I'd like to give them another go.
You may have to go up against the Stormcast next time, though. I'm currently painting, actually, this guy, the Lord Imperatant.
Okay.
That's the only Stormcast I'm working on at the moment. I'm also working on Griffhound statues, not technically Stormcast units. And then I'm also working on such things as this Soviet tank with Bad Squiddo tank riders sitting on it.
Ooh.
So that is quite a beastly tank there.
I just caught a moth in my hand, so that was good. First time.
That's like a true kind of ninja move there, isn't it?
Yeah.
What else am I working on? I'm still very slowly assembling this Hadron Overlord's gun hauler. Very slowly. Getting that assembled. So, more juicy gaming goodness coming on both our channels. You also unleashed an episode of Pillow Talk, did you not?
I did. If you're not familiar with Pillow Talk, it's Remington just chatting to the camera. So I went live streaming and answered a bunch of questions set by you guys on the Discord channel and on Facebook. I really enjoyed it, and I did it in one take. So there, and yeah, I'm up for another one. It was kind of cool.
Now, before
Mr. Kitely liked it. Yeah, nice one, man.
Before you start talking about this picture I've just put up, Dark House, off topic a little, anyone know some good 28mm women foot troops, shield maidens made? Well, you should know that Bad Squiddo have a vast range of shield maidens, all kinds of women infantry. Ooh. And there are some on horses as well, I think. So Bad Squiddo Games, definitely the place to look for that. And you could also use the code in the description of this video, right at the bottom of the description, there's a code. If you input that when you're placing an order with Bad Squiddo, you get a free chicken. Well, so why not place an order with Bad Squiddo Games? Anyway, so what we're looking at here, it looks like you've been busy feverishly painting your Kruleboyz, ready for them to be slaughtered on the fields of battle by Sigmar's glorious servants.
Yeah, I managed to get through 20 Hobgrots, and these guys are real, like, proper cannon fodder. I think they're going to be absolutely awful. But, I like Hobgoblins. I like the lore behind them. Let's see what happens. In front of them, you got a little Stab Grot. It was quite fun. I was considering putting him in my Halfling army, actually, because he could be a little Halfling Foot Knight. Look at those. They look pretty damn good close up. There's about 10 of them without proper detail in the face, but I just couldn't be asked to do it. So I will do, but I just wanted to get through them.
Well, that's definitely a way of doing it. If you get everything table ready, and then if you find yourself with a bit of spare time, you can always go back and add more detail.
Yeah. I think I saw a battle report on Warhammer Plus TV with featuring the Hobgoblins. It's like, they're so bad. It might not have been with them, it might have been something else, but yeah, they're literally just got taken off the table within 2 rounds. And I thought, I'm not going to spend ages on them. But yeah, thanks, Sato. He says they look great, really liking the skin tone. There's actually a paint, I think it's a new GW paint called Hobgrot thing. And I was going to buy it, and then I just realised, well, it looks like exactly the same colour as a couple of other GW paints. For example, what's it called? XV88. It looks a bit like that. It looks a bit like Balor Brown, so I just
You
use
wanna
those colours.
you wanna give people your flesh recipe as Remington's hot tip? Hold on, let me
Yes,
play the jingle for it. Here we go.
we're glad to.
Remington's hot tip. Ooh.
There you go. Remington's steaming hot tip for the week. Give us your flesh recipe.
What, for the Hobgrots?
Yep.
Okay, so base coat XV88, right? And then I'll put either Balor Brown, or if I can't find the Balor Brown, I'll use Zamizi Desert, right? And then I might put a little wash on there, Agrat's Earth Shade or Rightland Fresh Tone. And then I'll put some Ushabati Bone on there. And there you go. Kind of it.
Nice. That was Remington's hot tip. Flesh recipe. And you've also got your heroes here as well. How many more have you still got to paint in this army?
Now you love that Stormcast. Zoom in on that Stormcast, everybody. Isn't that a beautiful sight? Look at him. He's lying there peacefully.
Poor fella.
Below the foot of a Kruleboyz. Lovely.
Do you
Dead
like the shield?
Stormcast. Yeah, Dead Stormcast do look smaller, don't they?
That's
Shields
often the
are loads
case.
of fun. I love the shields. I think I have been putting a gloss wash on them to make them look a little bit more slimier, like they're from the swamp, you know. So yeah, they're cool. I'm currently painting the sort of Kruleboyz magician at the moment.
How many have
And
you got
then-
left after that?
And after him, I've got his little minion that looks like he could be in the Gobblerpalooza. And then I've got these 10 guys with spears, and then I've painted them all. I'll get them all done, and then either get one of them trog things with the clubs, or I get that snatcher boss. Is it? So
Cool.
it's kind of good when you get all your battle line painted. You get all that, the chunky stuff, the bulk of the army done. Then finishing off army could be a lot of fun. Really important, in my opinion, and I don't know if you're the same, not to buy too much too quickly.
Yes. You know what happened with my character on Overlords back in the day?
You just bought shed loads of them, and then
Bought all
got
of them,
bored.
and then got fed up with them because I painted 31 of them in the space of a week or two, and then
Yeah.
didn't want to look at them ever again. So I ended up having to sell them at a nice profit because of some nice wheeling and dealing with the special weapon parts. But
Yeah.
now diving back in there again, and hopefully I'll actually be able to get them on the table for army this time. I've got not that many Stormcast left to paint, really. I've got a couple of the heroes and all the Vindictors with the spears, but it's less important that I get those done since I've already got a vast army as it is. I can already do thousands of points, so not particularly important those rapidly. Not quite at the front of the queue at the moment.
Yeah, and you couldn't zoom out of that guy. I mean, that's not really fair. Look, you've made him as big as my head.
Let's zoom in on this guy instead.
It's only a small little minute. Come on, man. There we go. Look, that looks better. His face kind of looks really serious, doesn't it? Like real Lord of the Rings Auric face there.
You can just imagine him like giving orders to the other orcs before they attack. Very stern looking. What about this?
Is there any army you fear as a Stormcast player? Is there any other army you fear?
Fear is a strong word, and I haven't
You've
played
got to
against.
fear the Stormcast. They can do anything.
I haven't played against enough different armies to have one that I particularly think, yes, whenever I face those, it's going to be pain.
Yes.
But I have found that certain units in the Daughters of Cain have been very... So, for example, you've got your snake archers, The Bloodwrack Shrine.
Love them.
Found those to be really powerful. And what's that unit that can just teleport anywhere and then shoot you to death?
Oh, Shadow Stalkers.
Yeah, those as well.
Shadow Blade, is it? Shadow something?
Yeah, just a few units rather than a particular army seem to be powerful. And I'm sure if you had Marathi, or if you get Gotrek on the table as well, I believe they'll be added to the list.
I've been watching a few, reading a few bits about how to deal. I think it was on the Gloomspite Gits page on Facebook. It was saying, people saying, how do you deal with Gotrek, And they're basically saying, yeah, just run away from him. Because he can't catch you. So that's a good tactic, maybe. Because you're not going to kill him in combat. Not very fast, no.
So you'd end up having to use command points on him to make him run further, and command points used on him so he can redeploy as well if the enemy's foolish enough to get close to him.
Yeah. Also, they use spells like the Soul Shackle spells, which I need to start getting familiar with those, maybe, to stop your movement shenanigans.
Now, we have had some miniatures posted on the Andy and Rem Show Discord server, which if you're not a member of, you should be. And these are all posted by Cedar on there. So we've got some more Stormcast, very colourful Stormcast, in theme with the rest of them that we've seen recently. Very nice and colourful, like something from, like, what call it, like a Renaissance fair.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that colour scheme. Yeah, man.
Very vibrant.
I'd maybe put a wash on the handles of those weapons. Give them a little bit more depth, but, who am I to talk? They look really cool.
Yeah, I would say that, and anything else we would tweak on these? I would perhaps go for a heavier dry brush, silver, and then a wash, and then highlights. So I think it's just is it just a single layer of dry brush maybe on there? Because your eye is not really drawn to it because you're looking at the colours, not particularly. Overall, very nice.
Real clean work with the colours. They look cool.
Then this is actually Bad Squiddo. This is Bad Squiddo's Scenics. I've got this.
Yeah, me too. I haven't painted mine yet.
I've got mine painted. I've got all mine as kind of treasure objective. I think we've used them in games before.
I think I got this for Christmas from Annie, didn't I? It was well cool.
Well done. This looks nice. I think this might look better than mine, this one. I can't really do many.
Speaking of presents, Andy, what did you get for your birthday? Because if you didn't know, guys, Andy had a birthday on Sunday. And I won't tell everyone how old you are.
How about we let everyone guess how old I am?
How old is Andy? But did you get any tasty presents?
Well, let's see. So, hobby-related presents. One thing I got, which I'm finding very handy already, is this. It's a USB charged cordless little hobby rotary tool. So I'm using it as a drill at the moment. You can do other things with it. So,
okay.
Very handy, and it is powerful enough because I was drilling into metal with it earlier, and the drill did not snap off and fly off into my eye.
You need a vice to hold the model.
You probably should do, but I'm pretty careful. Instead of pushing the drill into it, I usually just rest it on and very gently push the model onto the drill.
Okay.
So I'm typically pretty safe with it. I do have a vice as well that I could just desk quite easily, but it depends what I'm doing, because what I was doing was I was drilling and putting pins into these tank riders, this tank, so that when they're not on the tank, they can be taken off. I can just plop them in there. They are mounted on the tank, but they've got pins attached to them, so that's what I was doing. What else did I get? Did I get anything else that was hobby related at all? Around. I'm not sure if I got directly hobby related presents, but let's see, what else can I show you? Let's get technical difficulties up here. I'll just
some predictions on your age, and they all think you're older than you are.
some of them might Come on, keep guessing. I want to see some guesses in the 20s before I reveal. I'm going to grab a present that's to hand. Some of them aren't in this. I'll just... But I've got one here that I can show you. So, technical there. Now, this may cast all kinds of reflections because it's in glass. Mr. Remington, are you familiar with the hit 90s sitcom Bottom?
Yes.
You a big fan?
I was a fan of Filthy Rich and Cat Flap.
I do have that on DVD, actually. That's the lesser appreciated, like, cousin Bottom.
I don't know if it'd still be funny now, because if you watch episodes of the young ones now, it's not as funny as
I think
it was at the
of
time.
all of those, I think Bottom has aged best.
Right. Yeah, Bottom was funny, man.
So, with that in mind, all kinds of reflections being cast, but that. So all the different quotes and various references and names from Bottom framed. Go. Be jealous of that. That's going on the wall. I got Bottom t-shirt as well. Got some delightful presents. And let's see what else. Went out to see a new horror film, Malignant, which isn't actually that scary.
Andy Palooza, was it called?
Not called Andy Palooza. Wasn't that scary, the film, but I would still recommend people see it, actually. Very gruesome and quite silly, but also a bit scary. So, the guesses here. Okay, we've got a guess of 17. That's more like it. Jimmy says, no way you were in your 20s. Yes, that would be a lie. But I would have liked a few people to have mistaken me for in my 20s. I think it's the facial hair. Without the facial hair, I'd definitely pass for 83. But, actually, Zato and Thomas got it correct. So there you go.
Yeah.
Older than
Joint
Jesus
weight,
was.
Kennedy.
So outlived Jesus. So basically better than Jesus, I think.
Oh man.
Could you argue against that?
Subscribers. Going to lose even more subscribers now.
Well, I don't think Jesus ever won a Kings of War tournament.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't think Jesus ever won a Dead Zone tournament or a Dreadball tournament, Relics tournament.
He did win Eternal Life, though.
I don't know if that's really better.
Well, yeah.
I'm actually thinking
He did
better
win
than
many-
Jesus t-shirts now.
He did win many hearts.
Yeah, but so have I.
Okay.
Look at these adoring people in the
billions.
chat.
Not millions and billions.
I don't know. I think you're underestimating my reach.
We've got 11 viewers, including me, so 10 viewers.
Yeah, but that's only the live viewers. People watching after the fact are in their millions. But they do occasionally put on this show in a stadium full of people, so it only counts as one. Really, it's 80,000.
Well, we're heading into sort of the after party here, aren't we? So I have to actually go to bed now.
We are actually heading party. So, we're going to look at look at Scumdrek, the swamp boss.
Yeah,
while
he's
we're
cool.
wrapping this one up.
Love this guy. If you're wondering about Joey Berry, she is sort of Age of Sigmar Warhammer content creator back in the day. Now works for Creative Assembly. Is part of the team that has brought us Total War Warhammer. She's agreed to come on a show nearer the time, I think. Nearer the time that Total War Warhammer 3 comes out. So that'd be a really exciting guest.
I need to ask her when would be the perfect time when there's a lot of content to discuss.
Yeah, I
from the
think
game.
we should get her to do stuff on the show though. Like, get her to sing, all the stuff we normally put guests through.
Plus exclusives, obviously.
get them, yeah, exclusive. Get her to review some latest Remington $1 million ideas.
Actually, that would be a good one. Yeah, we could create ideas for the Total War franchise, and she can rate them.
Like it.
That would be a
I
good
like it. How OPD is Rem? What's OPD?
I think he meant old.
Oh, how old is Rem?
Go on, guess Remington's age.
I'm as old as the hills and as
Guess how old the
wise as the
Remster is.
mountains.
Go on, everybody, drop an age in there.
Fresh as the screams and green as the grass. How old I am. Right, shall we go home now?
Well,
43. I'm disgraceful, Thomas. How very dare you?
they think you're actually quite youthful, some of these people.
You know what, it's his beard. If I shaved off this beard, I'd probably look younger than you, Andy. It's
Yeah, but
looking
then
a
if
bit
I
tight.
shaved off my beard, I think if we ever get into a youth contest, it would be down to whoever shaves the beard off first would be the winner. It does tend to
like my
knock
beard,
quite
though.
a few years off. Lack of facial hair.
Makes your face look really small all of a sudden. Like, you know?
You're going to tell the people how old you actually are?
No. Never.
Well,
No.
Remington is
I can tell you
actually...
my rock and roll age. My rock and roll age is 34.
Remington is actually 62.
Yeah.
No comment?
No comment.
Okay, so we don't really have time for a What the Hell Is That this week. That will be back. And the Deep Bath might have to be postponed as well. But there will be a battle report coming soon to make up for it. And obviously, thanks to all the wonderful audience for joining us this week, especially the patrons who have been named repeatedly in that scrolling text bottom of the screen that you can see there. So all those people, special thanks to them, who are obviously enjoying themselves in the VIP section of the bath right now.
Can I just thank the 2 subscribers who joined my channel? And I went from 666 subscribers to 668, which is like a growth of 2 in the last 30 days. So that's really impressive. I'm really grateful to you guys. Thank you. If you feel like subscribing to my channel, you know, we're doing a very exclusive offer at the minute because it is free to look at my videos, no adverts, and it's also free to subscribe. So,
you know what else is free?
Yes,
Giving me all your money. You don't have to pay anything apart from obviously paying me the money through Patreon and then paying the Patreon fees as well. Other than that, it's totally free to do so. Support this channel to keep it afloat during these dark, turbulent times where we are essentially the lighthouse of hobby joy, guiding you away from the rocks of peril and despair and towards the sea of hope. There you go. So don't forget to check out all the links in the description. Like the video, obviously, if you haven't liked it already. And if you're one of those people disliking it, then shame on you, frankly. Subscribe to Remington as well. Check out Bad Squiddo. Use the code in the description. Join the Discord server. Join the Facebook group. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And social media goodness.
You're not on Twitter?
I am on Twitter.
Are you? What are you on that for?
I'm frequently tweeting away. I'm not one of those people that follows 1,000 other accounts, though, to get them to follow me back. I've got a very exclusive list. So if I follow you, you know you're important. I don't just follow any old terrible Twitter account.
Okay, cool.
Only the cream of the crop. But you should still follow me, even if I don't follow you, because you're not considered worthy. I'm not endearing my Twitter followers to me. Anyway, battle report coming this week. Stay tuned for that, for tactical insight, me, and then just plain regular insight from Remington. And do you want to have another go at getting your catchphrase to catch on?
If it tastes like summer, then you're already there.
What you seek is seeking you. And finally, of course, good night out there. Whatever you
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about